First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my estranged father that he and his wife can be grandparents to his other kids' future children? My parents divorced when I was 15 because my dad had been cheating on my mom with a coworker of hers. My younger brother was 13 and my sister was 12. I became estranged from him around that time. My siblings followed suit. My full siblings anyway. I have two half-siblings who are older than me and my other siblings. They were jerks to us because we were angry our dad hurt our mom, etc. And they made it clear if we didn't want our dad, they didn't want us. So ever since, I consider him my estranged father and not even my dad. I am now married and I have two little boys. I only see my father and his wife once every 3 years or so when there's a paternal family event of some kind. Last year, there was a milestone birthday for my grandpa, and throughout the day, people went to see him. When I was leaving, my father showed up and he saw that I had kids. After that, he tracked me down on social media and started saying how he and his wife would love to be grandparents, and how she was unable to have kids, so no buy grandkids and all that stuff. I replied once and told him that he could ask his other kids if she could be grandma to their future kids because they were not welcome in my life or the life of my kids. He responded several more times, but I just ignored him. He then decided to get my great aunt involved and say that my boys deserve to have more loving grandparents if their grandparents are willing, and that I made his wife cry when I wrote what I did, and I was insensitive. My reply was, she was insensitive to sleep with a married man with 3 children, but apparently that was no big deal. And it goes beyond that, to how she treated my mom at work while the affair was happening. She even got fired over it, because she was bullying another colleague of my mom's too. It's not the type of family I want around my kiddos. They'll be fine with a loving grandma from me and 2 loving grandpas from their dad. So tell me, am I the a-hole for what I said? Edited to add, 2 kids was meant to be 3. It was a typo, sorry. My father has 5 kids total. 3 with my mom, 2 with the woman before he married my mom. Now for the top comments. Your estranged father had a chance to stay in your life, and he blew it. He also could have tried to reconnect with you later, and didn't until he found out, years after the fact, that you had something he wanted. Your kids. Sucks to be him. Oh, and the woman who helped destroy your parents' marriage is sad now that she doesn't get to swoop in and play granny? Ha 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 ha, bug off. Not the a-hole. So much agree with this. He could have started with, I'm sorry, or I regret that we don't have a relationship. Nope. You owe me and my affair partner, /wife, /bully your children's time and attention. With a side order of your children better be enthusiastic at having these new strangers around. So you better facilitate a grandparent-grandchild dynamic. No way. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. After that, he tracked me down on social media and started saying how he and his wife would love to be grandparents, and how she was unable to have kids, so no buy grandkids and all that stuff. He only wants back in your life because his wife cannot have children of her own, and they want to scratch the grandparent itch. There is nothing in his request that shows any remorse for what he did, and what they put you through as a child. They're both selfish. You're absolutely right to keep your boys away from these toxic people, and I would block anyone who tries to convince you otherwise. Your estranged father and his wife made their bed when they embarked on their affair. Now they're going to have to lie in it. Yep, only wanted her when it was a benefit to him and his wife. Forget that noise. He's not worth Opie's time. Not the a-hole. You owe this man nothing, and his audacious demands to play family now don't require gentle response. You were right to put your foot down fast and hard. I doubt anything less would have gotten through his skull. He chose her. If he doesn't get grandkids through her, oh well, it's not your problem. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my stepson with his son's surgery after he told me I'll never be his grandfather? I got married to my wife when her son was 14 and his mom was single 4 years before meeting me. My stepson was respectful, but he made it clear that he already had a dad. I'm not his father and that I shouldn't try to act like it. I respected his wish. Had no problem with him treating me in a formal and respectful manner. I still handle his education, /daily needs, /medical bills, even if no one told me to. He was just a kid living under my roof, so I felt responsible for his well-being until he could be responsible for himself. I do need to say that I lost a son while serving the military. He was young and had his whole life ahead of him. We had a lot in common. He loved soccer, cars, country music. Loved Eric Church, Alan Jackson, and Crystal Gayle. I listened to those singers every day to get some comfort. Some people say I'm lucky my son's a hero and things like that. Some say that I must be devastated. Let me tell you, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't feel the way I felt when I received that devastating news the first time. It's all I can say. My stepson had a baby boy with his wife last year. He made it clear that this baby is not my grandson and I'm not his grandfather. I was only able to visit when my wife visited. No photos allowed, no mentioning of the baby. No gifts from me specifically. Nothing. I wasn't allowed to attend his first birthday, and the gift I sent was returned. I'm not going to lie. It hurt. It still hurts, but I absolutely respected his words. I knew there were lines that I cannot cross, and so I kept to myself. It's not easy, and although my son is not here, I enjoy looking at pictures and videos of when he was younger. Thinking I was lucky I had him in my life, especially after how my stepson treated me. I don't hate him for it. I'm just grateful for the times I had with my son. A few days ago, my stepson's baby was in the hospital. My wife visits alone. She came home and said that my stepson needs help for his son's surgery and wanted me to pay for it. I said I'm sorry, but no. She looked confused and asked if I was serious, and then called me selfish and said that I'm ignoring my grandson and acting like I don't care. I told her that is not my grandbaby, and she and my stepson have been acting like it for an entire year. Now they want me to pay? She guilted me by saying I was being cruel to not help family. She and my stepson kept arguing with me and got others involved to shame me for not helping. My stepson argued that I'm trying to hold my money over his head and had no right to do that. They didn't stop arguing with me, telling me I needed to pay. His aunt called me too, saying I needed to help my grandchild because I have the money. But I'm not obligated to, yet they call me cruel and selfish. Now for the top comments. Not a hole. Your stepson has made it clear from the start that you are not his dad, and you're not his son's grandfather. Expecting anything from you, especially money, isn't called for. If he wanted you to have any kind of relationship with his son, then you would be allowed to see him without your wife being there. Have photos with the baby. Be able to talk about the baby. But nope. None of that. So, I wouldn't want to help with this random child's surgery, as bad as it sounds. Yes, and I'm not doing this out of spite as it claims. He knows how it is. His mother knows they both had no problem treating me like that, and I don't talk about it because I didn't want to look pathetic. But everyone just wants to please my stepson and his wife now. I bet they're promising him that they'll pressure me enough to pay. Unfortunately, I don't think things will change. It's been like this for years. My wife says she respects her son's wishes and isn't trying to force him to do anything, but I didn't ask anything from anyone. Sir, I mean no disrespect at all, but why are you with this woman at all? Not only allowed this treatment as a piggy bank towards you, but encouraged it, and now demands it. You deserve better. Please don't stay in this family. They don't respect you. They don't care about you, just your wallet, and they certainly don't love you. Not the a-hole. Your stepson wants you to finance a child's surgery that he won't even let you be around. He's using you. I'd tell him to have the real grandfather shell out the money. Yes, this. It was made clear someone else is the child's grandfather. To the point, they sent his gift back after forbidding him from attending the child's birthday party. So the birthday gift wasn't acceptable, but Alope's money is? They can sashay that BS back and over to his real grandfather and get the money from him. Not the a-hole. So basically, they want you to be dad/grandfather only when it's convenient for them. No. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-husband's girlfriend to stay in her lane when it comes to my kids? 5 years ago, while I was in the waiting part of labor, you know, where the epidural kicks in but you're hours away from the main event, my then-husband told me that he needed to get some food because he was starving and is hungry. In his hurry, he left his phone behind him, which every few seconds kept getting notifications. Me thinking it was his or my family checking up, I asked the midwife pass me the phone. He literally was updating his mistress on my labor. And how can I put this sweet talking her about how even though he was with me, she still had his full attention? Let's just say when he came back, it was showtime after me screaming the place down, and my midwife, amazing woman, kicked him out and my sister ended up coming in. Because there's a word count, I'll cut it short. I moved in with my parents with my 5 kids. We got divorced and they got together. I'm civil to my ex for my kids' sake, but I barely speak to her. She's my cousin, by the way. My kids, 15 female, 13 male, 13 male, 8 male, and 5 female, have recently become obsessed with Harry Potter. Since my 15-year-old made a TikTok and lots of people pointed out that my 4 oldest look like the Weasleys, my twins have the same personalities as Fred and George. So this brings me onto the situation. My youngest since then has been dressing up as a different character every week, like Harry, Draco, Snape, the dude from Twilight. You can see the pattern of it just being male characters. Personally, I don't care. If my kids are happy, I'm happy. Which brings me onto the situation today. While I was dropping them off, my ex's girlfriend asked to speak to me about my kids, especially my youngest. She basically told me it was weird that they weren't right in the head, so we're gonna do something about the situation at hand. I told her she slept with her cousin's husband, so her ideas on what people should do aren't something I want my kids are picking up, and that my kids are fine. She isn't their mom, nor will they ever see her as such, and that they hate her guts. Her doing, but that's another story. And finally, she should stay in her lane when it comes to my kids. Kids weren't there when it happened, and I left. A few hours later, X calls me screaming, saying I was a a-hole, and that his girlfriend has been crying all day about the mother thing, because she can't have kids, and that I need to apologize. So that's why I'm here. Not a-hole. She was way out of line for trying to tell you how to parent your kids. They can do what they want when they're at their dad's house. She should just talk to her boyfriend? So weird. No need to bring you into this. My oldest has recently started going to her dad's again, because his girlfriend started drama about my daughter being on TikTok. She literally talked him into demanding she delete the app, so maybe they wanted me to be the bad guy. What's your guys' legal custody arrangement? We both agreed on 50-50, but because of the bad relationship my kids have with the ex's girlfriend, and over the current situation with, you know what, it's more 80-20. You are definitely not an a-hole. They're not her kids. Wearing weird stuff is normal for young kids. Also, I feel for her that she can't have kids, but that doesn't give her the right to meddle with your kids, and she lost my sympathy the second she started an affair with your ex-husband. She sounds horrible. Wearing weird stuff is normal for young kids. You know what I do when my kid wears weird stuff? I take pictures and send them to family. They love it, especially when it's a mashup of 2 to 4 costumes that has some repurposed home item or a homemade craft. It's not just what kids do, it's super adorable. This lady is nuts. Edit. My oldest rang me to collect them. Apparently, my ex had hidden all their costumes. He has a garden like the Malfoy one, so they wanted to do TikToks. And his girlfriend held a family meeting about the Harry Potter obsession, and basically belittled my kids, especially my 5-year-old. The second youngest videoed her, which is now on Facebook. I had my sister come with me, and I told my ex I'll be going for full custody. I took my kids out to the car at that stage, but my sister just let loose. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my dad's girlfriend's kids? Some background information. My 16 female parents got divorced 2 years ago, and about 6 months after, my dad started dating his girlfriend, Molly. My mom is a science and math tutor, and I work at the same place as a math and reading tutor. Molly is an elementary school teacher with 2 kids, Ben, 10 male, and Alex, 7 male. My parents have split custody, so I spend 1 week at my mom's and 1 week at my dad's. With the way I'm doing school right now, I have biology the week I am at my dad's and my other class the week I am at my mom's. Because Molly's a teacher, she really enjoys helping out with homework and tries to help me, even though she doesn't understand biology as well, because she teaches younger kids. I had a big project due this week, and I was struggling, so I called my mom for help yesterday. Molly did not like this, and demanded I hang up on the phone and ask her for help. She didn't understand the work, and left, so I ended up just texting my mom to figure it out. Because everyone is at home right now, I am babysitting Ben and Alex while we're all on school calls. So if Ben or Alex have a question during the day, they come to me because Molly's teaching and I tutor their grade. Molly doesn't like this and always tells them to wait until she's done teaching to ask her questions. But this isn't really a good option because she's teaching for 6+ hours a day, and they can't wait that long. She still does any homework with them and gives them some activities she's done in her class for fun after she's done work. She came out of her office for lunch today and saw me helping Ben with some work and got mad and told me to not answer any questions they have. I didn't listen and continued to help them when they asked me. Now here is where I might be the a-hole. After dinner tonight, my dad said that Molly told him about what happened, and I can't help Ben and Alex anymore because they're Molly's kids, and what she says goes. I told him that if I'm not allowed to help them, I'm not going to watch them on their Zoom classes because they will just distract me with questions I'm not allowed to answer. My dad basically set him a nail for this, and it's not my job to parent Molly's kids. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. They set the rules. They can't get mad when you decide to comply with them in ways they didn't expect. Exactly. Opie gets told she can't do anything for the kids, so she decides not to do anything for the kids. Opie, you're setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Your dad's girlfriend decided to have 2 kids, and your dad accepted that when he started dating her and moved in together. It's on them to find a solution to their current problem, not you. If you want to watch the kids, and dad and girlfriend are fine with you handling homework when you are watching them, that's absolutely perfect. But they don't get to set arbitrary rules. Tell them it's either you watch them and help them as you are doing, or you don't watch them. This isn't a pick and mix shop. Not the a-hole. Molly seems to have a bad case of needing to be the smartest, most helpful person in the room, to the point of not being able to recognize or admit when that attitude's not actually helpful. And your dad's enabling her. If they won't ease off, see if you can talk them into considering family counseling. Or worst case, talk to your mom about readjusting the visiting arrangement. Molly sounds like Peggy Hill. Maybe we just call this Peggy Hill syndrome from now on. Not a-hole. Even your dad said so. It's not your job to parent the kids. So what's the issue here? That last sentence made it seem like your dad is agreeing with you. Sorry if it wasn't clear. Basically, my dad wants me to watch them, but just ignore their questions. I said I will either watch them and help, or not watch them at all. He basically said that me helping them with the questions was parenting them, and that I need to stop. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Update. I'm exposing the woman my partner, now ex, cheated on me with. Original post. I, 34 female, had been with my boyfriend, 35 male, for 7 years when I discovered that his close female friend, 33 female, who gets him like no one else, has been sending him nudes, texts, and begging him for hookups. He has been reciprocating. What bothers me even more is that she's married, and her husband has no idea. They've stayed in hotels together multiple times, while both lied to my face, insisting that nothing was going on. Meanwhile, I've quietly collected evidence, taking screenshots of everything I found on his phone. I stupidly told my partner I would forgive him if he gave her up, but he adamantly refused. He said he loved her more than me, but still wanted to keep both of us. So, I've been quietly preparing to move on without him. I let him renew the lease in our house while I sort out my finances. And I'm planning to expose her as karma for all the lies. Thanks to my partner buying her adult toys on Amazon, I know where she lives. She stays with her husband's family, and here's the kicker. She can only remain in the country because she's married. She has even said that once she secures her visa, she plans to leave her husband and be with my ex. If I expose her to her husband and in-laws, he'll likely divorce her, and she'll be forced to leave the country for 6 months to a year. She wouldn't be able to afford a visa on her own, and her previous attempts to secure one independently have been unsuccessful. Her husband currently funds it. If she has to go back, she'd end up in a Muslim country with her parents, who would despise her if they knew what she had done, though her father is currently cheating on her mother, so it seems to run in the family. I wouldn't even consider doing this, and I might have forgiven her if she hadn't lied to my face. She cried her eyes out when I confronted her, claiming I made her feel like a whore and that she'd never betray her religion or husband. 3 days later, she was hooking up with my boyfriend in my bed. I'm not sure when to go through with it. She's going back to her home country next month on a trip her husband paid for, and I know he would likely leave her there and cancel her return flight if I told him. But if I expose her now, my ex would know it was me, and he would leave the house. I can't afford a place on my own until next year. Alternatively, I could wait until I've paid off most of my debts and can support myself, which would mean holding off for nearly a year to avoid becoming homeless. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Gather your info, seek a lawyer, and start making an exit plan for yourself. And I would tell and show her husband what she has been doing. Thank you. I feel awful for him. I go to the gym with him and is genuinely such a nice guy. At least to me. Obviously, I don't know their circumstances at home. She hasn't even got a job but goes to the cinema several times, / hotel stays without him and new clothes every week, etc. And he pays for a lot. She's taking advantage of a kind man. Tell the husband and let him leave her there. Also, he can't just leave the house he has signed for. It will ruin any chance of him renting again. Plus, he will be required by law to pay. Tell her husband. Send him the evidence and let the chips fall where they may. Oh, I didn't know that. In about 10 months, I could afford a place by myself, which is what I was planning on waiting for. But if I can do it sooner. I don't know where you live, but be careful with assuming your partner can't leave the home / be removed from the rental agreement. There are places where a renter can pay a penalty to be removed from the lease. Check your local laws and also your rental agreement. The agreement should or might have a clause that explains if / how a renter can break the agreement. I don't want you to get stuck with a house you can't afford if your partner leaves, because you assumed he legally couldn't when in fact he could. Thank you. I'm avoiding putting where I live just in case either of them comes across this. It's specific enough that I think they'd figure it out, but I couldn't make my point being any vaguer. It's why I'm considering waiting a few months until I'm better financially, as much as I'm itching to do it next week while they're on holiday. I can afford all bills with ease once I've finished paying off this awful loan I've had for a while. He genuinely thinks I'm happy partaking in an open relationship, so he has no reason to want to leave at the moment. I think the sensible option is to wait, but it means you guys will have to wait a few months for an update. Now for the first update. Last night, I bumped into her husband at the gym. Since she wasn't with him, I decided to tell him everything. He had suspected she was cheating but didn't want to believe it, and thought they could work on their marriage, until I showed him the screenshots. I also told him about her plan to divorce him once she obtained citizenship. She asked for some time to gather any evidence he could find, like the adult toys my ex bought her to strengthen his case. He also asked if I could anonymously report the situation, because he didn't feel ready to face it himself. He wasn't angry, just incredibly sad, and I've felt awful for putting him through this. But he didn't deserve to be used like that. This confrontation happened sooner than I expected, but he promised to protect me from any fallout, considering I took a risk by telling him the truth. If they get an amicable divorce, she'll have 60 days to leave the country and would need to restart the visa process to return. If she is charged with lying to gain a visa, she could be banned for 10 years. I'm not sure if cheating qualifies as lying for the visa, but I don't have proof of that yet. Second update a month later. A lot has happened in the last month. It feels like the first post was ages ago, given how stressful things have been. As kind of expected, the husband backtracked and decided he wanted to try and save their marriage. He had no idea she had 3 different escape plans lined up to run away with my ex. I did anonymously report her, but I'll never know the outcome. I assume it will come up when they start the divorce proceedings. My ex and I continued living together until about a week ago, but it was unbearable. We'd have moments of peace, then erupt into arguments over the smallest things. The final straw was when my ex started completely ignoring me after I had been driving him to and from work because his car was broken down. I even drove him to the gym, but when I got ready to go in, he told me I wasn't allowed to because she was there, and that it made her uncomfortable. When I told him I wasn't going to change my plans for her, he accused me of being a cruel and horrible person for not supporting their love, and said I deserved to be unhappy. I laughed in his face, threw him out of the car, drove home, packed all of his belongings, and dropped them off at his mother's house. And by dropped off, I mean I tossed them out of the car and called his mom to come get them before they got stolen. After that, I stood for a bit and then drove to the other woman's house. I told her family everything, and her father-in-law was probably the angriest of them all. I showed them all the evidence and gave them copies. The husband and she tried to play it off as some couple's adult game, but the evidence made it clear that wasn't true. Even if it was, she knew about me and my relationship with him. During this, the husband discovered that she had already consulted lawyers about how to divorce him while staying in the country, so they've now begun divorce proceedings. She's set to return to her home country. She has also blocked my ex and everything because he wasn't supposed to keep her nudes or texts. He had lied to her about living with me and still talking to me. She thought that after I found out about the cheating, he had moved out and cut contact. On a few occasions she saw us together at the gym, he had explained it away as a coincidence. My ex is now blocked and everything and living with his mom. I returned his car to the dealership and accepted a payment plan for breaking the lease early. I'm waiting to hear back from a cute one-bedroom apartment 10 minutes from where I currently live. It's £400 cheaper with a garden for my dogs. I'll lose my deposit and owe for some damages it cost to the house, but I don't care anymore. I won't get to see the rest of the fallout, but I've seen enough to carry on with my life, knowing I hurt them as much as they hurt me. I'm petty, but it's made me feel better. This account will be pretty much inactive from now on as I focus on moving forward and rebuilding my confidence. Thank you everyone for your support and advice. I was truly alone, and it was comforting to know that strangers from all over the world could band together in our shared disdain for cheaters. In the end, the idiot wanted to play with fire and he lost everything. That he did. She probably didn't deserve as much karma as she got, but it is what it is. His own family couldn't care less even after knowing me for all that time. Same for his friends. They supported him. You're a queen. Your ex is genuinely awful. Which dumpster did you pick him up from? Be careful not to collect future partners from dumpsters moving forward. As for her, good riddance. I don't understand people who think the betrayed spouse shouldn't confront the affair partner. Yes, the spouse is the biggest culprit and should get the biggest ass kicking. But if the affair partner is perfectly aware of the entire situation, then screw him. They're not innocent at all. Only if affair partner is truly unaware, then they shouldn't be targeted because they're also a victim. And in this situation, affair partner is your friend and the basis of friendship is loyalty and respect, to which she's shown you neither. So, go off, queen. Thank you, and God knows, you think you know someone. I even said to him, if he'd broken up with me and then got with her, I never would have cared. I would have been hurt but not spiteful over it. And that's what I said, but he did try to argue, before I blocked him, that she didn't deserve any of this, and that she's the innocent party. Last I checked, me and her husband were the only innocent parties, yet we were expected to wave them off into the sunset together? Next story. That's not what you're supposed to do in an open relationship. My ex Gina and I had been dating for about 5 years. She told me she loved me but wanted to open our relationship and experience more of life. I didn't want that at all, and I made it clear that it wasn't my thing. But she kept pushing, and I eventually agreed because I didn't want to lose her. I'm not an extroverted person, and I wasn't really interested in seeing anyone else. So I just kept living my life the same way. Then about 6 months ago, I met Helen through my job. She was really interesting, and we clicked right away. We had similar hobbies and tastes in pop culture, so we started hanging out as friends. Helen knew about my situation with Gina, so we kept it friendly until things got more complicated. One day, a guy asked Helen out, and she turned him down. Afterward, she called me and said that I was the closest thing to a perfect boyfriend for her, even though I had a girlfriend. She admitted she was too into me and felt like accepting the date would have been like cheating on me. It wasn't sexual, but it made me think about my feelings. I asked Helen if she thought we would make a good couple. She said yes, absolutely, but she wasn't going to be responsible for me leaving Gina. I told her to give me a month to figure things out. That night, I broke up with Gina, packed up my things, and moved out since it was her lease. I gave her money to cover my share of the bills until February. After the breakup, I kept hanging out with Helen as friends, and eventually I asked her on a real date. She agreed, but made it clear that she was a one-man woman and would never want an open relationship. That was exactly what I wanted too. When Gina found out I had basically left her to be with someone else, she was furious. She accused me of developing feelings for Helen while we were still together, and said that wasn't how an open relationship was supposed to work. She was also upset because she couldn't afford the apartment on her own. I told Gina that I never wanted an open relationship in the first place, but she had insisted on it. I don't think I did anything wrong by moving on with someone who wanted the same things I did. You meeting Helen had nothing to do with your open relationship. You weren't happy with Gina, so you monkey branched to Helen. So I guess the question is whether monkey branching makes you the a-hole. I would not have hung out alone with a woman if I was in a monogamous relationship. I would find it disrespectful. You're not supposed to find a new girlfriend in an open relationship. Hun, you're not supposed to force an open relationship on someone who doesn't want it. Karma. She played stupid games. Got to win a stupid prize. If I were Opie, the fact that she did not want to be in a committed relationship with Opie, then she broke off their relationship, not him, no matter what she says. Last story. Am I the a-hole for divorcing my husband after catching him in bed with our married neighbor and exposing her to her husband? This is honestly such a mess, and I'm not sure if I handled it the right way, but here it goes. I, 34 female, have been married to my husband, 36 male, for 7 years. We have an 8-year-old autistic son, and life has already been pretty stressful for both of us. I thought we were handling it together like we were in this as a team until a few weeks ago when everything fell apart. We live in a small neighborhood where everyone's pretty friendly, and I got along well with our next door neighbors, Emily, 32 female, and her husband, Dave, 35 male. Emily and I weren't super close, but we chatted often. Our kids played together sometimes, and our husbands would occasionally hang out too. At first I thought it was nice that my husband and Emily seemed to get along, just neighbors being friendly. But then things started to feel off. My husband became more secretive, especially with his phone, and he seemed to bump into Emily whenever I wasn't around. He'd go out for random walks or suddenly needed to run errands right after dinner. I noticed these little things, but I didn't want to seem paranoid. I mean, we'd been through so much together. I didn't think he would do something like that to me. Then one day, everything came crashing down. I had to come home early from work unexpectedly because our son's school had a half day that I forgot about. I walked in, and there in our bedroom, I found my husband and Emily together. In our bed. I felt like the world stopped. They both panicked when they saw me. My husband scrabbling for his clothes and Emily crying, saying it was a mistake and that she was so sorry. I couldn't even process it. I just walked out, shaking, and went to pick up my son from school. Later that night, I confronted my husband, and he admitted to having an affair with her for the past few months. He begged me to forgive him, said it was a stupid, impulsive thing, and swore he loved me and didn't want to lose our family. I was heartbroken and didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't stay with someone who would betray me like that. Then there was Emily's husband, Dave. I knew him well enough to know he had no idea what was going on. I couldn't just stay silent and let him be blindsided like I was. So the next day, I went over to their house while Emily was out and told Dave everything. I even showed him proof, texts, pictures, everything I had. He was devastated, obviously, but he thanked me for being honest. And that's when the real drama began. Both my husband and Emily were furious when they found out I told Dave. My husband said I should have kept it between us and worked things out for the sake of our son. Emily called me all kinds of names, saying I had no right to tell her husband and that I ruined her life. She even claimed it wasn't serious, and then I blew everything out of proportion. Now Dave is considering divorcing her, and I've already filed for divorce myself. I'm getting a lot of flack from mutual friends who say I went too far by telling Dave and that I should have tried to keep things private to avoid tearing apart two families. I feel like I did what I had to do, but now I'm questioning myself. Am I the a-hole for divorcing my husband and telling Emily's husband about the affair? Should I have kept quiet and handled it differently? Honestly, her friends need to mind their own damn business and stay out of hers. She's more than welcome and has every right to divorce her cheating ex. So true, they're not real friends. Real friends would support and love her. My advice? Get new friends. Also, show them this post to show them how crappy they are. I love it when cheaters start talking about rights. I'm not even a huge believer in monogamy, despite personally being married for 20 plus years. But a promise is a promise, and betrayal is betrayal. How dare you respond to my complete betrayal of you in a way that reflects poorly on me? Yeah, okay. Update. My 26 female soon-to-be ex-husband, 30 male, attempted to end himself. Original post. We've been married for 3 years, together for 6 years. Thankfully no kids yet. 2 weeks ago, I found out that my husband was having an affair with his co-worker for 2 or 3 months. I packed my bags and within 2 days I had moved out of his house completely. I haven't filed for divorce yet. The thing is, he never said a word to me. When I confronted him, he just sat there quietly like a statue. It was super frustrating because he wasn't giving me an explanation. Not even a simple, I did it because. I called him a loser and left the next day. I didn't reach out, he didn't either. I thought maybe he has already invited a co-worker to live with him now that the wife is finally out of the picture. His sister and I have always been super close and she called me recently. We chatted. And I asked about him and a coworker, but she told me that he has been following his normal routine as far as she knows. She doesn't visit him that often, so she didn't know much about how he's been doing. Well, I was angry and super upset. I thought that maybe still seeing the coworker, but I had no one to confirm it. 2 days ago, he emailed me. It was long and confusing. I didn't gather much because it seemed his thoughts were all over the place. And there were just so many grammar and spelling mistakes that I had to read some of the lines multiple times to understand them. My hunch is that he was drunk because he's very proficient in English, both speaking and writing. I only gather a few things from the email. That he was sorry and he didn't want to ruin our marriage like this. And that his affair had nothing to do with me and I was too good for him and whatnot. It all just seemed pathetic and I felt so disgusted by him. I wasn't planning on replying, but I ended up writing a short email back. I told him when I'll be filing the petition for divorce and that he should shove his excuses up his butt. In my defense, I was pissed and emotional. He didn't reply to that. I thought that was the end of it and went to sleep. Then, his sister calls me sometime after 3 a.m. and gives me the news. This woman tells me that he tried to end himself by ingesting my mother-in-law's sleeping pills. I didn't believe it at first, but she's sobbing and screaming on the other side of the phone, so it was obviously real. To be honest, even now it feels like I'm in a dream. It just doesn't feel real. My mother-in-law was the one who found him, and he's in the hospital right now. I've been sitting in the same place for hours now. His sister didn't ask me to come. I didn't ask if I should visit. She gave me the news and hung up. I called her again in the morning. She told me she'd call me back, but she hasn't yet. I didn't want to bother her, so I didn't call again. I'm confused now. Should I go and visit him? Should I just stay where I am? I unofficially left him at his house 2 weeks ago. We haven't talked except for the emails. He did mention in the email that he had been feeling depressed, but I thought it was another one of his pathetic excuses for cheating. At times, I remember what he put me through and I feel angry and hurt again. But I obviously never wanted him to do such a thing. I'm not going to get back together with him either way. Our marriage is over for me, but I'm stuck. On one hand, I feel obligated to visit and take care of him, but on the other hand, I feel like I have lost the right to do that. Because I left him, I don't plan on going back. I don't have any friends to ask advice from, so here I am. Reddit, what do I do? Now for the top advice before reading the update. He did it to get you back. It's a classic manipulation technique. The attempt was genuine. He's literally in the ICU. Plus, he's never been the manipulative or abusive kind. So doing that as a manipulation tactic seems out of his character. Follow through. You left him because he cheated on you. Stay the course. While the attempt is unfortunate, that's a complication, not a reason to change your mind. He earned consequences for his cheating and must deal. Don't feel any obligation to him now to take care of him or anything else. He has family, and for that matter, let the affair partner pitch in. It's just hard sitting here and not doing anything. We've been together for so long, and I feel like it's human decency to visit him or his family at least once. No, your presence is highly likely only going to complicate things. If you feel you need to stay informed because you care, talk to the sister. If he's so unwell that he attempted to end himself, then he's probably better off focusing on his recovery rather than seeing you right now. You would be a reminder of everything he did wrong that lead to his actions. If, however, his actions were a manipulation tactic to get you to forget what he did by making you feel sorry for him, then going to see him would only reinforce that his behavior works, and you're risking falling into a cycle of threats until you feel trapped. Tread carefully. Yes, I worked with self-harm attempts patients in the ICU, and when they were related to relationship loss, then the ex would show up, get their hopes up, and then have to crush them all over again. You are in no way responsible for this attempt he took, nor any future actions. If you have no desire to work on the relationship, then continue as you have, with minimal contact. Be advised you will probably fall out with his family as their main concern here is making him feel better as quickly as possible, and they will see you as a key component. Ultimately and objectively, the best thing is to stay consistent with your behavior. Sorry you have had to endure so much in a short time. He made mistakes but was still your husband, so I'm sure you really have been hurting. Now for the update. I want to thank everyone who gave me advice on my previous post. I probably would have done something stupid had many of you not guided me. Many people mentioned how my presence would make matters worse, so I decided to not go. Instead, I dropped a message to a sister that she mustn't hesitate to call me if she or my mother-in-law need help with anything. I did mention in the message that it would be better if I don't visit or meet him for his own sake. She called me after a while and we had a long chat. There was a chance that he might have to pay a fine because attempted such act is punishable in our country. But as of now, he only needs to be rehabilitated once he's out of the hospital. He should be fine. His sister told me some technical stuff, but it's all a blur in my head right now and I can't seem to remember it properly. It's a lot to take in, and I'm having a hard time organizing my thoughts. Apparently, he broke it off with a woman he was having an affair with after I had left. The woman reached out to me a few days back. She apologized for the mess and said that she'll remove herself from the situation. I don't intend on replying back to her. I know I'm going to lose my cool if I talk to her. His sister also requested me to wait a little longer before filing for divorce and give him some time. I agreed because him and his family are going through a lot, and I don't mind waiting a little longer. I asked her if she blamed me for his attempt, and she admitted that, for a while, she did think if I hadn't left, maybe none of this would have happened. But she understands why I did what I did, and I'm not responsible for his actions. I told her I was grateful to her for being so understanding when everything was so chaotic. Other than her, a few relatives also called me up and asked me to move back into his house because men slip up sometimes and I should forgive him. But I shut them down and made it clear that I'm not going to do that for my own sake and for my husband's sake as well. I'm not going to take him back just because he's a man, and it's okay for him to slip up. Well, if the roles would have been reversed here, these same people would have cussed me into oblivion. As for me, I think I'll try out therapy. I also tried to reconnect with old friends and go out of the house more. Last year, I had made a list of historical places I want to visit in my city. I suppose I'll start with that. Again, thank you to you all helpful and kind people. Have a good day. Did the right thing, OP. This is not on you at all. Therapy is a good start. Begin rebuilding your life and file for divorce when you are good and ready. I am sorry this happened to you. Nobody deserves to be in this situation. Men slip up sometimes and I should forgive him. I imagine those relatives wouldn't extend you the same grace. I'm glad you're doing what's best for you. Your soon-to-be ex-husband seems to be in self-destruct mode, and only he can pull himself away from that spiral. You are not responsible for his actions. It sounds like you are making all the right decisions on your behalf, all the way up to putting his needs above your desire to be there physically at all. 2 to 3 months is unfortunately just too long of an affair to be reconciled, in my opinion, and a divorce is simply inevitable. If you felt true remorse for your sake, he would have opened up sooner or been more honest at the confrontation. I believe he's currently working through his own sorrow for himself, and he's acted on his own self-pity. This was not because of you. This was despite you. This was, despite your devotion to the marriage, him acting on his own self-pity from the affair to the attempt self-harm. Therapy is really the only suggestion on his behalf, but please stay vigilant in your self-worth while navigating this difficult situation. I'm so glad Opie's looking out for herself first and foremost here. She's completely blameless and will be much better off when they're fully extracted herself from the whole situation. Last story is titled, Update. My 40 male, wife 37 female won't stop reminding me that I asked her to terminate our daughter, 6 female. Original post. Me and my wife have been together for 17 years, married for 12. From the beginning of our relationship, she has always said she's child-free, and there was no problem because I was too. At the time, we also were living in a crappy apartment in a bad town, so even if we wanted children, it would not be where we lived for a majority of our relationship. 7 years ago, my wife was slowly getting off of her birth control because of health-related problems, and during that time frame, she got pregnant. My initial reaction to her being pregnant was, "So we're going to terminate it, right?" And my wife agreed. Set an appointment, then the day of the appointment decided she wanted to keep the baby because she grew connected to it. And if I didn't respect her decision, we should divorce. I love my wife, so I didn't divorce her and decided to try to be the best parent I could. I picked 3 jobs so we could move into a better neighborhood. And starting those 3 jobs made me extra stressed and anxious, and eventually leading me to be diagnosed with depression and anxiety, which I started to manage better now with the help of meds and therapy. She gave birth, we had our daughter, and anytime I smile, play with, or talk to my daughter, my wife is always around a corner saying, "Aren't you glad you decided to not get rid of her?" Or, "It's a shame you didn't want her." It's starting to spiral me back into depression because now I'm thinking I almost ended my daughter. But I'm also upset at my wife because my daughter doesn't understand what her mom means is off right now because she's 6. But if she were to recall what her mother said later in life, I fear it will make my daughter hate me. I don't know what to do at this point because now when I look at my daughter, I think in the back of my head I almost ended her. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Those comments are not okay at all. Your daughter will grow up hearing them. A long discussion is in order with your wife and maybe therapy. We do go to marriage counseling and she has gotten better on different problems of our marriage. It's just these comments that are affecting it badly. She needs individual counseling. This is her problem. It's absolutely not normal, right, or fair for her to keep bringing this up as if it's a valid point or a gotcha moment. She also wanted a procedure. She went as far as to make an appointment before changing her mind. How has she conveniently forgotten this? You love your daughter. You worked incredibly hard to provide a safe and loving environment for her. As long as you're a good father, the past is irrelevant. You should let her know that you won't continue to tolerate her mistreatment. She either works on herself and stops being cruel and hurtful, or you'll divorce her, for the sake of your own mental health, and for the sake of your child. Only you know what she's like overall, but just from this glimpse, she sounds thoroughly unpleasant. You either need extreme counseling or a divorce. Your wife's behavior is not normal behavior at all. Bro, that is beyond messed up. It's been 7 years. You were going off a previous agreement. She made a decision, and you backed her. She is mistreating and manipulating you emotionally and damaging your relationship with your daughter. Frankly, I couldn't stay with someone who behaved in this way. And now for the update. First off, I want to thank you all for the advice, and before I give the update, I would like to answer a few questions majority had. Have we tried counseling/therapy? Yes. We are both in individual therapies and marriage counseling, as is my daughter with a child therapist. Why would you remain intimate while my wife was getting off of birth control? One of the things our counselor said to try was an active intimate life at least twice a week. Also, because we were both under the impression if she were to get pregnant, then we would terminate it. Why haven't you divorced yet? Because I grew up in a split household, and the amount of times my parents fought over custody for me and my siblings is not something I would want my daughter to grow up in. I also don't want only to see my daughter half the time. Now to the update. I sat my wife down after dropping my daughter off at my parents' and told her if she kept making these comments, I would divorce her, and asked her to explain why she would tell me those things, and also told her how it was making me severely depressed again. Majority of you were right. She broke down and told me she hated being pregnant. She didn't want to be a mother anymore, and she hated the fact that she kept our daughter. She said she can't stand to look at me while I'm happy around our daughter because she hates that I became a good parent so quickly, because we were supposed to be child-free and I'm happy as a father. I told her I gave her the option to remain child-free, and she decided against it, so that's on her. She apologized multiple times and said she would still want to try to make the marriage work. It's just her own issues that are making her be such a witch. She also said she wants to be a good mother to our daughter, and after I told her that I was afraid our daughter would hate me when she is older, she broke down even more and apologized a ton. In the end, she said she wouldn't blame me if I wanted a divorce, but she would still want to try and make us work. Not only for our daughter's sake, but for our sake as well. We are currently working with our therapist and going to start doing family therapy, with her actually trying to change. We are sleeping in separate rooms, and only focusing on our daughter's happiness at the moment. Once again, thank you all, and I will update later on if needed. I'm glad you confronted her with those comments only to find out she hated it. I'm glad you all are in therapy and working things out. My eldest is 15 years old and can still remember things we told her when she was 5. The poison your wife has introduced into her relationship with your daughter is mistreatment, plain and simple. She resents and regrets being a mother, and she is taking it out on your daughter because she resents the relationship you two have. For me personally, that would be a red line. Your daughter is already old enough to make long-term memories of this. Your wife seems to have no intention of becoming Mother of the Year, and I truly fear for your daughter growing up with someone who has spewed those words. It is trying to keep them inside. Even if your wife never says it again, she will surely be thinking it, and your daughter will pick up on it. Are you sure you want your child growing up in an environment like that, where one of the major adults in her life admits to resenting the fact that she's alive and is trying to convince her that the other parent didn't want her either? Can you imagine the long-term psychological scars that will leave your daughter with? Please ask yourself those questions. I'm sorry to be blunt, but choosing your marriage at this point is choosing to roll the dice with your daughter's mental health. There are a lot of things worse than divorce. Scars like that are one of them. She said she wants to be a good mother and wants to change through therapy. What do you suggest OP do? He can't confiscate the daughter from her. She's not a toy. And if they divorce, she'll get 50-50 time anyway. Yes, what she did was messed up and wrong, but if she's honest about wanting to change, why rake her over the coals? I'm glad OP put his foot down and forced her to confront her own issues. If she doesn't actually change, he should definitely divorce her. But she's not the only mom who has regretted having kids, that's for sure. And she can definitely change if she puts in time and effort.